The bids are in. The gavel is dropped. Ladies and gentlemen, here at WineBid, we are finally hammered. That's right. This is WineBid's podcast dedicated to all things wine value, wine retail, wine auctions, and just wine. My name is Jeff. I'm here on the WineBid marketing team. With me, as always, is our wine expert, Paul, hero of Aubryon Walker. Welcome to the podcast, Paul. Today,
Welcome.
look, we're going to be talking about all of the amazing California wine. Well, not all of it, but a lot of the amazing California wine that's coming to auction. It would be impossible.
We don't have time to talk about all of it.
Yeah, we don't have time to talk about all of it. There's like I haven't seen this
Way too much
California wine coming to auction, especially this much cool stuff coming to auction in quite a long time. I'm going to start off by saying, first of all, you can go to our website and bid on any of this stuff right now. This stuff is all up for auction. At this moment, the auction is going to close on Sunday. So this is all available for people to buy until that time. The other thing I'm going to say is if this week and this week only, you use the code Hero of Aubryon in WineBid, you'll get $15 in WineBid credit that expires this week, and we're going to start putting some limits on how
Hero of Aubryon. That's Chateau Aubryon, Hautbrion, Chateau Aubryon in France. Just French pronunciation. No, it's a lot.
Well, Paul thinks very little of our audience. I think our audience all knows how to spell Aubryon.
Well, depending on how they hear it pronounced, yes, but
correctly by me. Look, I'm going to jump into it. We were just talking about this. We've got all these Screaming Eagle large formats, which we don't see Screaming Eagle large formats, certainly not 3 liters very often. The one I had my eye on, which I thought was cool, was this 1997 Screaming Eagle 3 liter, which I was like, whoa, that one. Is just, that looks so cool.
That'll turn some heads at a Cabernet party or any.
Also great way to save on corkage because 3 liters they charge you for one.
Jeff, I think restaurants have gotten hip to this and they charge for 750 milliliter.
All I'm saying is you may save as much as $75. So $17,150. Really, when you take into account the corkage savings, you're really only paying $17,075. That's some of my wine investment advice that I like.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Those are resident wine investment experts. So
I'm all about the savings.
You'll find some picks in the current week's auction that you should put down for 5 years and triple your money.
A lot of other really cool stuff like the 97 Joseph Phelps Bacchus Vineyard Cab Sav already has a bid on it for 150, going for 160. There's a ton of other Joseph Phelps stuff, a lot of old insignia and Isley from the 70s and 80s that I would definitely recommend checking out. I think that stuff is interesting. Paul will be upset with me for mentioning this, but there's a bunch of cool old Dominus from the 80s, 83, 84, 88, 89, 90, like just really cool old Dominus. What would be your pick of the litter from all the Dominus we have, Paul? Like if you could have one of those bottles.
Well, there's so much of it. It's hard to say. Like, I'm not even looking at it right now because I was actually scrambling to catch up with picking wines for the podcast, but there's 83, there's 84. Is it kind of like a vertical through the...
No, 83, 84, 88, 90, 92, 94, 96, 99, 2000, 06, 08.
Not the 91, huh? I would pick the 94. I'd pick the 94, actually, I think, of all those. Although I do think the 80... Did you say 89?
There's an 80... Yes, there's an 89.
Okay, 89 is astoundingly great for a vintage in California that was challenging. And so the 89 Dominus, I haven't had it a few years, but this bottle is in really, really good shape, but it's incredibly good. So I would probably pick 89 or 94.
We've got a 97 Schaefer Vineyards Hillside Select 9 liter for $37.50, or you can get the mag for $6.15. But I thought 9 liter, that's a nice party bottle right there, Hillside Select. A lot of Bond coming in.
There is. Yeah. And so it's funny because I basically just chose large formats from California this week for California picks, because there are so many just banner examples from classic and, let's just call them, first generation cult wineries in the auction this week. And yeah, it's just incredible. I mean, you just mentioned the Schaefer Hillside 9 liter. So Phelps as well, you mentioned. I mean, there's a veritable, just unbelievable display of large format bottles from both classic and newer wineries. And yeah, Phelps and Grace and Heights. And well, Heights actually not too many, I don't think. There are some large formats, I believe.
There's there's an embarrassment of Aubert large format as well, like 3 liters of all of like a bunch of these Aubert bottlings, like just a bunch of really cool, and mags, like a ton of mags, 3 liters, a lot of really cool stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of wines I know have come from a single cellar that I know for a fact has been stored, wines have been stored very, very well, and hasn't moved that far. There are some, signed bottles. There's some auction dedication bottles. There's a lot of really great stuff, and bottles that you don't see that often. We were talking earlier about Screaming Eagle large formats. Right near Screaming Eagle, as far as the alphabet's concerned, is Schrader. There's a Schrader. I think it's the Gaudimus. I forget how you pronounce that, and that is a 3 liter, if I'm not mistaken, which, it's a 3 liter of 98 Schrader Gaudimus Cabernet. And I'm pretty sure that almost any bottle over a Magnum size from Schrader was sold at an auction each year that Fred Schrader would put on. And so it was, even if you had been on the mailing list for a long time, you didn't have access to these wines. So that's a really rare one that caught my eye. I don't know how the 98 Gaudimus is drinking, but it's a very collectible bottle.
What I think is really cool about this stuff, though, is that like a 98 Gaudimus, $540 for a 3 liter.
Yeah, it's not,
it's not that bad.
No, I mean, 98 was, not the greatest vintage of all time in Napa. There's probably some great wines. I'm sure, in large formats, they're probably drinking well. So it's probably a safe drink. Let's just call it that at this point.
I'm looking at like tasting notes from 17 and 16 for this bottle that are saying that it's still kicking, and a 3 liter stored as well as this one is probably doing even better, right?
Sure.
And I love that it's signed as well. Gotta love the little personal note. Let's talk about all this old done from the 80s and 90s auction.
Yeah.
A lot of cool Hell Mountain stuff.
Absolutely.
I was looking through this and I was like, oh my gosh, this 87 looks cool. The 97 looks cool. Yeah. I mean, this stuff, large formats of some of this old stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, again, it's like I picked out the 97 mag because we don't see them too often, but there's also mags of younger vintages, 06, 07. It's just, it's pretty incredible.
And they're not even that expensive. I mean, the 97 is $410, so you're looking at $205 per 750, which for Hell Mountain, you look at the 19 is going for $175. Not that much of a stretch from some of these great vintages.
No, and it's got a bunch of time on it. These wines, they need a lot of time to come around, So the 19 is not going to be drinking for, a good 10, 15, maybe I would say 20 years. So, yeah.
So another thing that we've got that's coming to auction this week is just a ton of really cool old Stag's Leap. Like a bunch of this old Cask 23 from the 80s and into the 90s, even in large format, 85s of the Cask 23, 90 of the Cask 23, 97 mag, a 3 liter of the 97, a 5 liter of the 97 Cask 23. Just some really cool old Stag's Leap. All this stuff just, to me, looks to be in phenomenal condition. But but it's not just the Cask 23. There's also Solarius 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I was going to say the one that's really interesting to me that's in this batch. Well, you have this is the 78 SLV, which honestly, everybody makes a big deal out of the 73 because it was the lauded Cabernet that was tasted at the Judgment of Paris. But for the money, 78's better wine at 375, and there's a 74 as well for 375. Excuse me, I think the 78 is maybe
78's 230,
and it's a lot. Yeah, it's the Lot 2 Cabernet 230, which I think. I mean, that's a great vintage and a great wine from a great winery. So yeah, 230 for 78, classic, sort of award-winning, legendary producer in California, I think is not a bad deal.
No, I don't think that's a bad deal at all. That stuff looks, I mean, really.
Yeah, and it's original owner, stored well. So it's, impressive stuff.
What about all of this Spotswood coming into auction?
Yeah, another classic, Napa legendary producer with great large format picks as well.
85, 86, 87, 88. I was just talking to someone today who's got a Spotswood allocation, and they were talking about the price of the Spotswood allocation. And I mean, look, I'm not saying don't buy your allocation. I think people absolutely should, prices are different today. But when you look at those prices compared to what you can pick up some of these storied bottles of Spotswood, it's a pretty, these are a pretty darn good deal.
Yeah, it's true. And those older wines they're phenomenal. Like the 87 is still amazing. The 90, there's 90 in large format. There's 94, I believe. No, excuse me.
94. There's a 94. Format. There's a 97 in 750 and mag, 190 in 750, 360 in mag, 98s, 2000s, 03s, 04s, 06s, 08. I mean,
and then did you see the 14 6-liter?
Oh my God, that thing looks. I mean, look, I wouldn't open it right now. Like that's probably got some years to go. But what a cool 6-liter bottle that is. I thought that was super, super neat. And then it looks like it's signed on the back or something, or it's etched.
Yeah, it's etched and signed. Yeah, it might have been for one of the Napa auctions. I'm not sure, but
that one was cool. There's some older Abreu as well, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that because those do not come in that often. And yeah, I was pretty impressed. And there's big format Abreu also.
Yes. 96 3-liter, 96.
Yeah, 96 3-liter for $1,060. Not a crazy price. And you think about what Abreu costs now for a 750.
Yeah,
that's a collectible. That's another rare one. I mean, we talk about, a lot of producers and wines that we see fairly often, especially in 750 mLs, but mid 90s Abreu 3-liter, very rare. I have to mention too, in the same breath, the Maya large formats, because
I was just about to mention this.
Oh, sorry.
I was just about to mention this. You stole my thunder, Paul.
But these are incredible. I mean, and incredible vintages, incredible format. Well, which is to say rare, I should say. But yeah, 1996 liter. We rarely see 1990 750s, for goodness sakes, but 96 liters, 96 6-liter, 97 6-liter. I mean, just astounding.
Of the Maya, but then you can also get just their mainline Cabernet 7, their Cab Sav, like a mag from 1990 for $260. The 96 mag is $220, right? Just like great prices on this stuff.
Yeah. And very, very hard to find. The again, 750 mLs, we do see a lot from the 90s, and 2000s, obviously, but not in large format.
Your Costco doesn't carry 6 liters of 97 Maya every week?
I don't buy wine at Costco, Jeff, because I work at WineBid.
Oh, okay. My bad. No, I mean, no, look, it's just crazy. And by the way, can I just say, when we talk about rare stuff, just when you thought like, oh, there's no way we'll get a bunch of new Diamond Creek coming into auction. There's a bunch of new Diamond Creek coming into auction.
After, was it 2 weeks ago, I guess?
2 weeks ago. The 92 Lake is back.
Hit. Yeah.
The 92 Lake is back in a mag format, right? I mean, it's amazing. I mean, it wasn't as much as last time, but there's like 10 more lots of Diamond Creek that just came right back into auction. Cool stuff.
Yeah, so if you missed 2 weeks ago, you still got a chance.
Yeah, you got another opportunity. This doesn't
True.
come along every day. It usually doesn't come along every year. Another one that I wanted to mention, which I would be remiss if I didn't, because I love this producer, and I do think they represent a tremendous value when you look at like the quality of their juice. And we don't see this much coming to auction very much. There's a bunch of Stagland coming into auction this week. Like 54 lots of Stagland, including some stuff from Napa Valley auction, Premier Napa Valley, estate stuff like 92 estate mag for 150, 92 estate. I mean, just like 91 for $61. Somebody already bid on 93 mag for 190. This stuff goes for like a good amount. Dude, a 97 3-liter for $490. Like a lot of really cool Stagland, some Salas in as well. Even the 98 Napa Valley Reserve wine auction, Napa Valley Wine Auction Reserve Cabernet Sauvignon 320 for a 3-liter.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, that's not bad.
Just some tremendous values, Benchlands, Bella Oaks, Staglands. Yeah, some really cool stuff. We don't have a ton of it, but I did see we've got this Mag Fayette, Maine, Beckstoffer, Las Pedras Vineyard for 330. I didn't think that was too crazy. And then
2012. Yeah.
Yeah, 2012. The last thing I'll bring up, and this is just one that this is a producer that I really like in Paso, Calcareous. We've got a bunch of stuff from Calcareous. I actually think they make great stuff. I really like their Tre Valette. I think their cabs are pretty decent. I don't think it's expensive. I think it represents a tremendous value. That's just my personal opinion. But we got some cool stuff from them. What else are we missing before we wrap up here, Paul?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to mention there were a couple rarities that I wanted to point out. There are some enormous bottles of this classic cuvées KCBX, and I'm not sure what this was, but it's like a collaboration from literally just looking at the labels. It was like a Central Coast wine classic, so some kind of event years and years ago, and they made these collaboration bottlings, and one of them is Au Bon Climat and Tally, which are two great producers down in Central Coast. And it's a 9-liter, and it appears to be Tally Rosemary's Vineyard Pinot Noir, and then, Au Bon Climat and Tally Vineyards Rosemary's Pinot. So it's kind of a blend of two winemakers of the same vineyard. And, I think it's interesting and unique, but also not terribly expensive. $420 for a 9-liter. So if you have a big party coming up and you want a bunch of really tasty, mature Pinot Noir, I thought that was a really interesting and rare. You're not going to see another one of those anytime soon. Again, we've obviously been talking about all these classic California producers and rare things, but I wanted to mention the Lael J. Daniel Cuvée large formats. I don't think I've ever seen these 6-liters with the painted labels before. Those are really fascinating to me. Arajo large formats from the mid 90s, great vintages in the 90s.
Saw those.
Some nickel and nickel 3-liters, which I thought were actually very, very reasonable for some very serious Oakville sources. There's a Memento Mori 3-liter, which I don't think I've ever seen before. And that's a pretty fascinating one as well. Some Barnett large formats, some Arietta 3-liters, which are a couple of them are astonishingly inexpensive. A 2000 Variation 1 for $180. It's just like amazing. Burgess 1990 vintage selection Cabernet 3-liter, another great Howell Mountain sort of classic Cabernet producer. Clark Cloudon, another one. You mentioned all the the Phelps wines, but there's also Islay and Bacchus. And Insignia from older, and even large formats for some of those. Also, Colgan, there's Colgan 3-liters and Magnums, which again are things that I don't think were ever really available to mailing list members, even if you'd been on the list for a long time. I don't know if you saw that 80 Chapelet Magnum. Maybe you didn't want me to mention it. That's a rare one.
Do you remember the trivia about that one?
The 1980? No, you told me, but I don't remember.
That was according to legend. And by legend, I mean Chapelet's website. I think it's Chapelet's website. I read this somewhere, but the 80 vintage was the one that was it Don Chapelet tasted it and he's like, this is the best wine we ever made, and put his signature on the label, and that started the Chevrolet signature.
Okay. That's cool, because this is actually, it's interesting because it's a black label. So most of them are white, and I think the 750 milliliters from this vintage were also white, and this actually appears to be an etched bottle. It probably says, of course, it says in the inspection notes. I didn't read that. But yeah, it's an etched black label bottle with gold signature. Very, very cool.
Yes.
Yeah. There's some Napa Valley Reserve Magnums too, which we also don't see that often. There's a Sloan Magnum, which again, like, I don't recall last time I saw Sloan and Magnums. There's 90 and 94 and 97 Pallmeyer in Magnums. Just, banner vintages, great Helen Turley era wines, 90s Clos de Val Stag's Leap Cab Magnums, like Calera Magnums, Favia Magnums, Silverado Reserve Magnums, Nine Sons Magnum. There's
Paul, we can't get through it all.
I know. I just wanted to mention things. And then there's a really rare one, Jeff. I know you got to go, but let me mention this. Moraga Bel Air. Have you ever seen this vineyard before?
Yes, it's in Bel Air. I tried to get one of these, but I got outbid, and I was so upset. And yes, the Moraga Bel Air. It's across from the museum
Getty Center.
The Getty, it's across from
Getty. If you look, it's like basically straight at eye level. If you're up on the hill at the Getty, you can see it right across the freeway. It's over there. Anyway, there's a Magnum of Moraga Bel Air. Again, I'd like to say, like, these super, super rare wines, they might not be the world's most famous or most expensive, but talk about rare. Moraga Bel Air Magnum, throw that into a lineup and see what people say. So anyway,
all right.
Just 2 minutes to mention.
I'm going to wrap us up here. First of all, let me just say that all the stuff we've talked about, you can go and bid on and potentially win on WineBid. So just go to WineBid, bid on.
And let's also specify the auction closes on March 24th at 7 p.m. Pacific
7 p.m.
time.
7 p.m. Pacific. So that's for all you out there.
Right?
The other thing is, just coming back to $15 WineBid wallet credit. Since Paul is the hero of Aubryon, that's his moniker. That's what people call him. That's his nickname. We'll use the word hero will be your WineBid wallet credit. That'll be valid for this week. You can add that to your wallet and you get free $15 just for listening to this podcast, right? I don't know if it was worth your time. Hopefully it was. With that being said, this has been Jeff McGurn and Paul Walker wishing you happy bidding and cheers.
Cheers.